to kick things off today with a bit of a challenge. I'm going to throw three books at you, three absolute titans, and I want you to tell me what they have in common. You ready?
I was born ready. Let's hear them.
Okay. Book number one, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Book number two, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And book number three, Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Okay, that is an eclectic mix. If you walked into a bookstore right now, I mean, assuming you can still find one, you are going to find these in three very different zip codes. Frankl is usually in, what, history or psychology?
Yeah, dealing with the heavy reality of the Holocaust.
Right.
Eh.
And then The Alchemist is fiction, maybe New Age or inspirational. And Siddhartha is usually tucked away in classics or Eastern philosophy.
Exactly. Most of us read them as three completely separate vibes. You read Frankl when you're going through something tragic. You read Coelho when you're dreaming of a gap year. And you read Hesse when you're, I don't know, feeling existential in a coffee shop.
That sounds about right. They feel like the different genres for different moods.
But we've been looking at these texts together for this deep dive. And when we were putting our notes together, viewing them side by side, we realized something kind of, well, mind-blowing.
That they aren't three separate stories.
No, they are three mirrors.
That is the perfect way to put it. They are mirrors reflecting the exact same human journey, just from three radically different angles.
We're calling this concept the internal compass. And the mission for this deep dive is to show how, when you stack these three books on top of each other, they actually provide a complete map for life. You've got the search, the legend, and the awakening.
And honestly, looking at this state of things, we need this map now more than ever. I mean, if you look at the modern condition, and our research for this really highlighted it, we are absolutely drowning in noise.
It's that outside-in problem, right?
Precisely. We are obsessed with productivity. We're constantly comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels online, and we're trying to build our lives from the outside in.
We think, if I get the job title, if I buy the house, if I get the validation...
Then I'll have purpose.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
We're trying to purchase meaning. Or, achieve our way into feeling like we matter.
Right. And the promise of this conversation, if we can really unpack these three texts, is to flip that script. By the end of this, we want to help you understand why meaning isn't something you're given. Purpose isn't just a career path, an awakening. Well, it's not a destination you arrive at.
So let's get into it. We have to start with the foundation, the bedrock. And that is Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning.
It's the heaviest of the three, without a doubt. But it's necessary. You can't build a house without a foundation, and you can't build a meaningful life without confronting the dark stuff.
And for anyone who doesn't know, Frankl wasn't just some philosopher sitting in a comfy armchair theorizing about life.
Oh, far from it. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, but he was also a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz. His book isn't speculation. It's observation from the absolute depths of human hell.
And his contribution to our internal compass is this whole concept of the search. There's that core truth, that quote a lot of people post online, but few really unpack about the why and the how.
He who have a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. Frankl saw this play out in real time. He noticed that the prisoners who survived weren't necessarily the strongest.
Physically, yeah.
Right, not physically. They were the ones who had a reason to survive. A child waiting for them, a book they needed to write, a spouse they needed to see, a why.
The source material uses a really haunting phrase here. It says, the camps strip life down to its barest bones.
It's a chilling image. When you take away comfort, status, family, hair, clothes, even your name, Frankl, was just number 119,104. What is left?
That's the question. When you strip everything away, is there anything actually left? Or are we just our surroundings?
Yeah. Frankl realized that even when everything is gone, life was still asking him a question. And this is the pivot point. Most of us go through life asking, what can I get from life? Why isn't life making me happy?
Yeah, what's in it for me?
Frankl flipped it. He realized it's not about what we expect from life, but what life expects from us.
It's a shift from being a consumer of life to being responsible to life. But I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't that asking a lot? To tell someone in deep suffering, hey, just choose your attitude, it sounds almost, toxic. Like telling a depressed person to just cheer up.
That is a very valid pushback, and it's where people often misunderstand Frankl. He isn't saying just smile and be happy. He's not talking about happiness at all.
He's talking about meaning.
Exactly. He's talking about the dignity of the response. He identified three ways to find meaning: by creating a work, by loving someone, or, and this is the hard one, by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. When you cannot change the situation, you are challenged to change yourself.
So the last freedom isn't freedom from pain.
No,
It's the freedom to choose who you are within the pain.
exactly. It's about the gap. Between the stimulus, the bad thing happening, and your response, there is a space. In that space lies your power to choose.
So if we're mapping this out, Frankl provides the first lesson of the triad. Meaning is a decision.
It is a decision. You don't walk down the street and stumble over meaning like a loose coin.
Yeah.
It is chosen. Even in the darkest moments, you have to decide that your life still asks something of you.
I think that's why this book has to be the foundation, because before you can go on a big adventure like in The Alchemist, you have to fundamentally decide that you are responsible for your own existence.
You have to look suffering in the eye and ask, what is this asking of me?
All right.
Rather than just, why is this happening to me?
Okay, so we've established the foundation. Meaning is a decision. You've decided to take responsibility. But you can't just sit in a room with your meaning forever. Eventually, you have to open the door.
Right. You need movement. Meaning gives you a why, but it doesn't necessarily give you a where. That brings us to the second mirror, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and the character of Santiago.
I feel like everyone knows this story, or at least knows of it. Shepherd boy, looking for treasure. It's the ultimate dreamer's book.
It is a fable, for sure. But Santiago represents that part of us that just wants to go. He represents that calling we hear long before we could explain it.
The personal legend, that's the famous term from the book.
Personal legend, it's that itch, that feeling that there's a path for you that is yours and yours alone.
But here is where it gets interesting for me. In the book, Santiago wants to go. He has the dream, but he almost doesn't. He almost stays with his sheep.
Because of the sheep and because of the crystal merchant.
Oh, the crystal merchant. We have to talk about him because honestly, I relate to the crystal merchant way more than I relate to Santiago sometimes.
Most people do.
Mm.
The crystal merchant is one of the most tragic and relatable characters in literature. Santiago works for him, and the merchant knows his own personal legend. He wants to go on a pilgrimage to Mecca. That's all he talks about. He has the money. He has the time.
He never goes.
He never goes. He tells Santiago, if I realize my dream, I'll have no reason to keep on living. He prefers the dream of Mecca to the reality of Mecca.
He's terrified that the reality won't match the fantasy.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So he stays in his crystal shop, watching the world go by.
Man, that hits hard. I think a lot of us are the crystal merchant. We like having the dream of writing a book or moving to Italy. We keep it in our pocket like a little jewel, but we don't actually want to do it because if we try and fail, we lose the dream.
That's the fear. We're afraid of the change. But Santiago chooses differently. He sells the sheep. He leaves the merchant. He goes to the desert.
And this is the second big lesson. In the book, he's looking for literal treasure, right?
Bicycle.
A chest of gold. But our analysis highlights that the treasure is never really the destination.
This is the classic, it's about the journey trope. But let's look at why it says that. It says the treasure is who you become while walking toward it. I mean, think about the alchemy of the desert. Santiago gets robbed. He gets beaten. He has to learn to listen to the wind. He falls in love.
If he'd just taken a jet plane to the pyramids, he would have found the treasure, but he wouldn't be Santiago. He would just be a tourist.
He wouldn't have the capacity to hold the treasure. The source makes a really interesting point here about how the universe responds, this idea of the soul of the world. It says the universe responds only when you commit.
That's big, because I think a lot of us wait for clarity before we commit. We say, show me the path is safe, show me the map, and then I'll start walking.
And Santiago teaches us that it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Clarity is a byproduct of movement. You move first, the path clears second.
So if Frankl teaches us that meaning is a decision, Santiago teaches us that purpose is a pursuit.
Correct. It's active, it's muddy, it involves risk. It involves ignoring that crystal merchant inside your head who says, just stay here, it's safe.
Okay, so we've got the decision from Frankl and the pursuit from Santiago. You're out there, you're chasing the personal legend, you're hustling. But you can't run forever.
And you can't win the game just by playing harder.
That's where our third mirror comes in. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. This is the one that I think trips people up the most because it feels so counterintuitive to our hustle culture.
It is the most subtle shift.
Right.
We love the hustle of the pursuit. We love that go-get-'em energy of the alchemist. But Siddhartha teaches us about the surrender.
Siddhartha is an interesting character because, unlike Santiago, who is looking for treasure, Siddhartha is looking for enlightenment. And he keeps failing.
He fails over and over again. And it's fascinating how he fails. He tries everything the world tells him to try. He joins the ascetics and starves himself. Doesn't work. He listens to the greatest teachers. He even meets the Buddha.
Wait, hold on. He meets the Buddha Gautama Buddha in the flesh, and he walks away.
He does, and this is the key insight of the book that we really need to drill down on. Siddhartha realizes that the Buddha's wisdom cannot be taught. The Buddha can give him knowledge, rules, steps, the Eightfold Path, but wisdom is experiential. It has to be lived.
That's a massive distinction. Knowledge versus wisdom.
Think about it. You can read every book ever written about Paris. You can know the map, the history, the metro stops. That is knowledge.
But until you stand on a street corner in the rain and smell the bakery,
You don't have the wisdom of Paris. You cannot borrow someone else's enlightenment.
you can't.
So Siddhartha realizes he has to experience life to understand it. He goes into the world. He tries the opposite of asceticism. He becomes a rich merchant. He gambles. He explores pleasures.
He becomes a child person, as the book calls them.
Yes, he gets lost in the cycle of desire and suffering. He tries to force his way to happiness through pleasure and money, and he ends up suicidal by a river, just disgusted with himself.
And that's the turning point, the river.
The famous river. He meets Vasudeva, the ferryman, and Vasudeva tells him just listen to the river.
It sounds so simple, listen to the river. But what does that actually mean in the context of our map?
Well, think about what a river does. It flows. It doesn't try to climb a mountain. It yields to gravity.
Yeah.
It merges. Siddhartha realizes that the river is everywhere at once, at the source, at the waterfall, at the ocean.
He stops striving. He stops trying to get somewhere else.
He stops fighting. He stopped trying to impose his will on the world. He learns that awakening isn't transcendence. It's not about escaping the world or floating above it on a cloud. It's about merging with the flow of existence.
It's the difference between trying to control the water and just learning to float.
Exactly. The source puts it beautifully. The path unfolds only when you stop running from yourself. Siddhartha's lesson is quiet, but it's radical. He finds peace, not by achieving a goal, but by realizing he is already part of the whole.
So, to complete our triad, Frankl is decision, Santiago is pursuit, and Siddhartha teaches us that awakening is a surrender.
It happens when we stop trying to control the river.
I want to pause here because this is where it gets really interesting for us today. We have these three distinct lessons: decision, pursuit, surrender. But the magic happens when we overlay them. How do we synthesize this into a map for modern life? Because, I can't go live in a concentration camp and then run a ferry boat. I have a job and rent to pay.
Right. The goal isn't to replicate their lives literally. It's to replicate their internal mechanics. Let's look at the trap we're currently in. The source calls it the outside-in trap.
Which is how most of us operate.
We look outside for validation. We look at our bank accounts for security. We look at job titles for purpose. We try to build a life from the outside in, hoping that if we get enough stuff, we'll feel good on the inside.
Frankl would call this the existential vacuum, right? We just fill it with pleasure or work.
Exactly. These three books, when viewed together, remind us to reverse the flow. Everything must rise from within first. It's an inside-out model.
So let's redefine the terms based on this model. Let's start with Frankl's why.
Okay. Your why is not something you find in a job description. It's chosen by noticing two things. What breaks your heart?
And what lights up your eyes.
Precisely. It is an internal decision to be responsible for your corner of the world.
And the personal legend.
It's not a career ladder. This is a huge distinction. Your personal legend is the direction your soul leans. It's an inclination, a magnetic pull. It's internal first, and the career is just the external expression of it.
Okay, and finally, awakening.
Awakening is the moment you stop fighting who you're becoming. It's that surrender we talked about. It's not achieving perfection. It's achieving presence. It's accepting that the river flows where it flows.
There's another concept from our notes that I absolutely loved, and I think it's crucial. It's about how we view the bad stuff, the pain, the loss. The source calls them initiations.
That word changes everything. Initiation.
Usually when we hit a wall, say I lose my job, I see it as an obstacle, I think something has gone wrong, my plan is ruined.
Right. I'm off the path.
But if you look at the map of Frankl, Santiago, and Siddhartha, those moments aren't obstacles, they are necessary initiations.
You will be shaped by loss, just like Santiago was. You will be tested by suffering, like Frankl. You will be humbled, like Siddhartha was when his own son ran away from him.
Oh, I forgot about his son. That was the moment Siddhartha finally understood suffering, wasn't it?
Yes. He had to love and lose to truly understand the pain his own father felt when he left. It was a cycle closing. If you view a failure as an initiation, you stop asking, why me? and you start asking, what is this teaching me? You go back to Frankl.
It's cyclical, isn't it? The surrender of Siddhartha brings you back to the responsibility of Frankl.
It is a spiral. You go deeper each time. You decide, you pursue, you surrender. Then life changes, and you have to decide again.
I want to touch on the specific takeaway regarding stillness.
Uh,
Our notes mention that most people today are lost not because they lack options, but because they lack stillness.
that's the modern crisis in a nutshell. We have infinite options. You can be anything, go anywhere. But without stillness, you can't hear the internal compass. You can't hear the why, you can't feel the legend, and you certainly can't surrender to the river.
We drown in urgency. We're so busy paddling upstream we never look around.
We do. We want the clarity of Santiago without the risk of the desert. We want the peace of Siddhartha without the years of struggle. But the map is clear. You have to walk it.
So let's bring this home. If we successfully integrate these 3 lessons, if we manage to live with this map, what does life actually look like?
Well, the Source summarizes it beautifully with the final triad, meaning gives you direction. That's your compass heading. That's Frankl.
Okay.
The calling or the legend gives you movement. That's the wind in your sails. That's Santiago.
Right.
And awareness, the awakening, gives you peace. That's the ability to weather the storm. That's Siddhartha.
Direction, movement, peace.
And when those 3 align, the Source says life stops being something you endure. It becomes something you participate in.
That's the goal, isn't it? To stop just getting through the week, to stop the Sunday neurosis, as Frankl called it, and start actually participating in your existence.
Not perfectly. We aren't aiming for some guru-level perfection where you never get angry or sad.
Right. The phrase from our notes was, not perfectly, but awake.
But awake. That's the key. You're aware of the game. You're aware that you're choosing your attitude. You're aware that you're pursuing a legend. You're aware that the river's flowing.
It's fascinating how these 3 books, written in different times, the 40s, the 80s, the 20s, different languages, different contexts, really do just tell one long story of what it means to be human.
It shows that the human condition is universal. Whether you're in a concentration camp, a shepherd in a fable, or a seeker in ancient India, the internal mechanics are the same. We all need a why. We all need a pursuit. We all need to surrender.
It really makes you want to go back and reread them, not as stories, but as instruction manuals.
Absolutely. Read Frankl when you feel victimized. Read The Alchemist when you feel stuck or afraid to jump. Don't be the crystal merchant. And read Siddhartha when you're tired of fighting and just need to find some peace.
That's a great prescription. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left thinking about that idea of the treasure again. The Source said the treasure isn't out there. It is simply who you become during the journey.
It's the ultimate cliché because it's the ultimate truth. We chase the external to avoid the internal work. But the internal work is the only thing that lasts.
So here's a thought we want to leave you with today. It's a question from our synthesis of these texts, and I think it's worth carrying with you. We spend so much time waiting for the world to give us a sign or a break or a reason. But if you stopped waiting for the world to give you a why, what would you choose today?
What would you choose to make meaningful right now, regardless of your circumstances?
That's the question. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.